Hi guys, welcome back to the James Bond Show. I'm your host Krazy Kajeevie with no fears, limits or substitutes, the bad boy of James Bond. And I'm back with another episode finally of Dissecting the Directing. I hope you can see me fine. This is the best kind of setup I can do for this at kind of late and short notice at the same time. Now, by popular demand, I have been asked to dissect the classic train fight scene on the Orient Express from the second James Bond film, From Russia with Love. Now, it's quite a long scene, so we're going to get straight into this. Obviously, many of you, and maybe some of you new to this channel, have never seen this scene before. Obviously, many of you have seen this scene many times. So hopefully through my former directing experience and dissecting of this, I can show you some things that maybe you haven't seen before, maybe some decisions the director made that you didn't quite understand or you never thought about. There will be some stuff that's pretty obvious, but hopefully this can be a bit of an insight for you. So let's get into this. I'm going to move I've got my Seinfeld coffee cup here. I'm going to move that out the way and we're going to get right into this. All right, now I've just gone through it the once today to have a look over, and hopefully I've picked out a few things that will interest you. Now I just want to note, I decided to start Tatiana, I'll just call her Tanya for the sake of this video. She's just been placed down, so starting off with this scene, I wanted to start off with this scene for a few specific reasons. So she's just been placed down there.
Let's go next door. Exhaustion, I'd say.
Now have a look closely. Because it's such a long scene, I'm not going to play it all the way through on its own and then go back through it because it's a very long scene. But have a look here quickly at Red Grant. And what I recommend you guys do is watch the scene maybe prior to watching this video for... You can see his hands here. So Red Grant, he is nervous about what he's just done by putting the sleeping drug in Tanya's drink. Bonds doesn't buy it. He kind of knows it. Watch his hand as they enter. They go to screen right. Watch his hand and how he reacts, almost like he's thinking Bond might do something here and he may have to get his gun. See there, so he's looking back at him. He's got the hand. This is a great decision by the actor, by Robert Shaw, and probably with the director. He's got his hand here. He fixes his tie nervously here as he walks through. The hand's then going through to where his gun would be, and look how he's looking still at James Bond. And this is fantastic by Connery. You can see the clenched lips here. Clenched lips in real life shows nervous behavior. So he's nervous about what's about to happen here. And he doesn't buy what's going on. See the clenched mouth? Now I love this here. The lighting obviously is fantastic. And we're starting here. I mean, this for the very small. You got to remember, this is shot on a stage. And that's what's incredible about this. This is not a real train. This is a stage at Pinewood Studios. And so I love the lighting here. Obviously, you know, it's nighttime outside, but I love now how this is kind of darkness. Is he going into the light here to get answers to what's happened here?
What was it? The stuff you put in a drink.
Now have a look at Robert Shaw's eye line, Red Grant's eye line with Bond. He's got his back to him. He's not too sure. Red Grant's not too sure what Bond's going to do. We, the audience, we see that Bond is putting his hand into his jacket because he's going to grab his gun, just like he earlier was putting his hand into his jacket for the potential of grabbing his own gun.
Quick but mild. And? Take it easy, 007. My escape route's only for one. What are you after? The girl or the lector?
Now this to me as a director is all about the direction of the eye contact, how the characters, the actors, are looking at each other. Now, Terence Young, as I've said in other previous videos before, Terence Young doesn't like doing close-ups. He will only really do close-ups when he needs to because he didn't like them being overused. And I'll talk more about that a bit later on. Now, here's a little thing here, right? He's been given an option. This is a really clever little thing. I'm actually just picked out right now. If we go back here, listen to what Red Grant says. So Red Grant gives him an option. What do you want? Do you want the Lecter or the girl? Now watch then how Bond controls his gun. And this is something that, till this point, I've never even picked up. The gun becomes like a metaphor for a weighted scale. See how he's weighing up his options? He starts
Quick,
the way he holds his gun.
Take it easy, 07.
So watch here,
Fire
guys.
escape route only for one. What are you after? The girl or the Lecter?
So gives him an option. He's thinking. Now watch his hands with the gun.
All right.
See? He's weighing it up. Like when you make a decision in life, you weigh options up. And so he uses that metaphorically. I think it's fantastic.
What is your plan? Explain it better on the map. All right? Now,
so the camera setups here are pretty basic. There's obviously a fair bit of handheld, especially when they do end up in the fisticuffs. I'm not 100% sure here if they've got, on these angles, they've got a stage wall propped out and potentially got it on a camera mount where they can move it up and down. But it looks a little bit... Steadicam wasn't massively used back in these days. It really started to get popularity with the... with Citizen Kane, really. There was a fair bit... There was Steadicam, I think, first used in Citizen Kane, so many years ago. So with here, there seems to be a little bit of movement on the camera when it's needed, which is going perfectly with the characters. And I also like, so the angle here is reasonably wide for what they need. And then because now these two are, for a very short period of time, going kind of like agree to, yep, okay, let's focus on the map. The angle's a bit tighter. It shows them tight together as though they're a tight-knit group that has to work together. But that obviously doesn't last long.
we're here, you see? When we reach there, there's a steep gradient. The train slows down there. We'll block the line.
Now, one issue I've always had as not just a filmmaker, but as a James Bond fan is I don't buy this. I don't buy the way this was. I have to be negative on it. I think a lot of you probably will be too. I don't buy the way this was directed. This camera angle showing this. There's no way that Bond in this position would not see what Red Grant is doing, especially after the fact he doesn't trust him.
Head for that main road. Pick up a car. There. A truck, in fact. That must be about 20 miles from here.
And see, and there's no way he'd get to that position. And this is through this, I think this camera angle shows too much. It shows that Bond had more opportunity to see this going on behind his back. Well, really, it's not even behind his back. It's as plain as day. Now, what happens here is director Terence Young starts using his angles for power and authority. So we're basically, through the film, and again, this is kind of a metaphor, through the film, we've followed Bond and we know that Bond's walking into a trap, but we also find out things. We watch Bond find out things for the first time. So we're in his viewpoint, not his POV viewpoint, but we're in his viewpoint as a character where he's walking into situations. So now the director's got us in this low angle, static shot, and we're not in his POV, but we're in his world, we're on his level, and now we're being overpowered with the director's wide angle shot here with Red Grant looking down. So this is all about authority and power for the bad character to show desperation and danger to our protagonist, James Bond. I love he never takes his eyes off Bond's eyes. He's looking to see if those eyes open. The performance by Robert Shaw is incredible in this film. Now, it's very clever there how it shows him take the cigarettes from Bond, because obviously Bond tries to use that later as a bargaining chip. Now, also, while I was going through this in preparation, I find now, you could say maybe I'm reading too much into it, but me personally, I see that train going past, the sound of the train going past, almost as like a scream of desperation and for what's to come. Now, what I love here, I'm just going to go back quickly, guys. Even in his bad situation here, outside of this frame is hope. And you think, well, what do you mean by that? Well, look what's up here, and the director gives us a clue of what Bond's hope is by what's up here. The attaché case, that's his hope. That's what Bond needs to get to. And it's used cleverly, so...
All right, now get up on your knees. Put your hands in your pockets. Keep them there.
Now, he's in a wider angle, right? It's kind of showing him push back, a little bit helpless, right? When director Terence Young cuts back to Robert Shaw, we're on a tighter angle because he's the authority figure. He's trying to give the audience this sense of threat with the villain.
Red wine with fish. Well, that should have told me something.
You may know the right wines.
So it's still wide on here. It's still wide enough on here, so I correct myself there. It's still a wide angle. It's really beautiful shot composition here. The way they're holding the eye line, they're not crossing the line or anything like that.
One on your knees. How does it feel?
Now, what I love about this is you've got Bond with his hands in his pockets. He's very, it's like he's trapped. And the actor, Robert Shaw, has made a decision here to, if you go out with your mates and you're at a club or whatever, you're hanging out, especially what guys do, what men do, when they're relaxed, we have our legs open. Even women, when they're relaxed, you got your legs open. He's all tense and strict. He's got the legs open, literally showing Bond his groin, right? That's a power move. That's a power play character move. And Robert Shaw, who's a very intelligent actor, knows this. So he's got his leg up, he's sitting back, he's got his back up, he's got his legs there. He's showing dominance like a dog pissing on your leg or on a tree to show dominance and power. This is like a pissing contest, and he's using his body through his performance to do that.
Man. Old man.
Very tense.
Is that what you chaps
Locked away
smash
hands.
call each other?
Now, sarcastic comment from Bond, right? Is that what you chaps at Smirsh call each other? Tension. Now, the director and the editor, Peter Hunt, are so wise to cut in here on more. It's not a close-up, it's a medium close-up, but compared to the wide-angle shot, it's now starting to show us his face and the anger that's starting to boil within this character.
Smash.
Now, he's cut in tighter here on Connery because Connery Bond has got a light bulb moment going off. So the director and the editor have cut in here so we can really see, he's just realised he's been played all along.
Of course.
And that's the power of angles. And framing, close-ups, medium close-ups, etc.
You've been playing us off against each other, haven't you?
More close-up now. See, every time they're cutting back to him, right, where they're showing his dominance because he's been part of a mission to play Bond, they're coming in tighter. This is brilliant filmmaking.
And it was Spectre who killed the Russian agent in the mosque. You?
See just a little bit of movement. Frame's not in tight, still the same frame, but just that little bit of movement. This is brilliant performance by Robert Shaw.
Karam and the other man?
Mm-hmm.
And Nash?
Oh, I don't mind talking. I get a kick out of watching the great James Bond find out what a bloody fool he's been making of himself.
Now, so they've gone to this wider angle. Watch on the next shot, and I'll explain why then they've gone back to the wide angle. Obviously, they want to show that he's now preparing to kill Bond, getting the gun out, getting the silencer ready. But there's a few other reasons.
We're pros, Mr. Bond.
It's showing, basically, that frame showing a power and authority. Close-ups obviously showing you what's going to happen with that authority.
We sweated your recognition code out of one of your men in Tokyo before he died. I've been keeping...
And now they got the tighter frame instead of the looser frame. They got the tight. They just had the tighter frame on Bond because he's in danger, so it's going to close in on him.
Hands on you. I've been your guardian angel.
Saved your life at the gypsy camp.
Back to the power frame. Back to a wider angle showing that he's in trouble.
Yes. I'm much obliged.
We were keeping you alive until you could get us the Lecter.
So you had me deliver it on the plate. That's brilliant. Go on, I'm fascinated.
Now that we've got it, you and the girl are expendable. Between here and Trieste.
The girl? Isn't she working for Spectre too?
No. She thinks she's doing it all for Mother Russia. She takes her orders from Colonel Klebb.
Rosa Klebb's Russian. Head of operations for Smush.
Was. Klebb works for Spectre now.
I don't have to say much here, guys. I'm just letting this play out because it's so nice and you understand now what's going on with the
The
framing.
girl doesn't know that.
Well, then why kill her?
Orders.
This is just a reverse angle shot here, guys. Just basically a reverse angle, I would call it, a medium wide angle, reverse angle shot. And again, it's showing what they're doing now is they're setting up the distance between Red Grant and James Bond because we know that Bond needs to close this distance to get to this guy to potentially, save his own life.
That's only half of it, old man. Here's a roll of film. You have this in a handbag.
He barely
And
blinks.
on you, I found this letter. It's from her, threatening to give the film to the press unless you marry her for helping you get the Lecter.
What film?
Taken in the bridal suite.
And again, wider because he's making a point. And now it's starting, his character as Red Grant is starting to insult James Bond. So the director and the editor, Peter Hunt, is showing you the enjoyment on his face because he's getting his kicks doing this, showing how sadistic he is. You wouldn't get that on a wider angle shot.
Your hotel. Something else the girl didn't know about. Or would you?
Must be a pretty sick collection of minds to dream up a plan like that.
You see the headlines? British agent murders beautiful Russian spy, then commits suicide.
Tell me, which lunatic asylum did they get you out of?
Now, after that sarcastic comment, tell me which lunatic asylum did they get you out of, right? Bond's insulting him, trying to take his manhood away, his power away. He's got his legs in a bit more tighter. The frames come out because it's now making him look like a bit of a loser. It's taking the power away from him after he's been insulted by Bond. And then what's going to happen here is something very clever.
Make it tougher on yourself.
There's the savior again. So don't make it tougher on yourself. He raises up, camera raises up, power over Bond, but revealing in that power, he thinks he's got the power over Bond because of this angle, because of his height distance over Bond on his knees. But right here is the secret to what's going to happen in this scene, and he doesn't know it. He thinks he's got the power over Bond, but the director leaves that attaché case in frame to show that he thinks he's got the power, but Bond actually has an escape route coming up. So it's really, really clever. Whack, power, not soon.
My orders are to kill you and deliver the Lecter.
Oh, I do. It's my business.
They could have put that under there. They could have put that anywhere, but I think they've purposely done it like this to have the attaché case up there, and they can utilise these angles with character manipulation and Bond knowing he's got a secret up his sleeve, so to speak.
It'll be slow and painful.
How much are they paying you?
What's it to you?
We'll double it.
Your word of honor? As an English gentleman?
I love how the camera stays pretty, reasonably still here. We're just getting the time. He's in desperation mode here a little bit, even though he knows what's up there. And we're getting this time to read Red Grant and seeing the greed on his face.
The first one won't kill you. Not the second. Not even the third. Not till you crawl over here and you kiss my foot.
How about a cigarette?
Not a chance.
You see the desperation in Connery's performance, the clenching of the lips he just did. This is two absolutely wonderful performances.
I'll pay for it.
What with?
50 gold sovereigns.
Where are they?
Up there in my case.
Looser, just before we Connery there, looser angle showing a little bit of almost like, I'll just go back here, guys. Like he's going, he was going for his freedom there. So they've gone with a looser angle there on Connery, a wider angle. And obviously it matches better with this wider angle. And the camera will now pan as Bond talks about the case. I'm going to predict anyway, the camera's just going to tilt up here. I was wrong, there's a cut and shoot in a moment. There we go. So now this case that's been kept in play by the director a lot, this case is now being used within the scene. And I love the way Red Grant still just keeps his eyes on Bond. And I keep mentioning that stuff because that comes down to the direction and the performance. And this is what this is about, dissecting the directing, showing what the director's done with the actors, not just the frames.
You show me.
So he's still got the gun here, he's still on his knees, wide frame to show that he's still got the power over Bond.
Yeah. What about that cigarette?
Throw him down there. Any more in the other case?
And you can see the desperation and the lips tightening up again, the desperation in Bond. And I love how this is the focal, it's not, they could have popped that wall out, they could have got a wider angle and shown the back of the head of Red Grant, but they haven't because the focus is on this gun at his eye level. So it's really clever just focusing on that.
I should imagine so. It's a standard kit. I'll have a look.
Put your hands back in your pockets.
And you'll notice here, guys, the cutting starts to get a little quicker. It was more dialogue. It was shots were being held for longer. Now shots are tightening up a little bit, and that's to lead us into the fight scene.
Keep them there.
Now, we know as an audience what's about to happen here. Red Grant obviously doesn't. We know this is going to explode. And I think a lot of you... Sorry, guys. About to sneeze here. A lot of you... excuse me. A lot of you James Bond fans know that there's a bad edit here. This should have had this explode in his face. We should have seen the full explosion. I don't know what happened here. I don't know if it didn't go off properly, if there was a hair in the gate when they filmed it, in the gate of the camera, which ruins the stock. I don't know, but this has always bothered me. This scene gets a lot of praise, deservedly so, for the incredible editing, but honestly, something's gone wrong here. So we hear the explosion off screen. We should have seen that instantly as that opens. Now, what I love here, and I know a lot of you do too, the fact that window, or the fact the light got shot out to put us more in darkness is showing the desperation of the scene. But when the window gets broken, you hear these screams come in of other trains going past, the train tracks. It just adds to the attention, and that's the power of sound in film. Now, if you start counting, guys, you go back a little bit and you count, you'll get an average between 2 and 3 seconds between each cut, which is now, as I said, sped up. And so I think the reason the editor, Peter Hunt, started to speed up the footage prior to this fight taking out is to lead us into it. And it goes 1, 2, 3, if you count in your head between each cut, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then, when it's really desperate situation and it's the close combat stuff, the strangling, it will be 1 cut, 1 cut, 1 cut, 1 cut. So the timing is everything. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You see? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2. Now, we're on that just before there with Bond punch Grant on that lower angle like he was in desperation before. Watch how the director starts to change the angles in favour of Bond once Bond, gets on top of him. Not literally, but gets on top of him mentally and within the physical movement of the frame. So we're changing the angles already. So now Bond has authority within the frame as he's standing up. And now, as you'll cut, you'll see him jump down. He ends up on the couch. But again, it's about putting Grant in those lower angles, camera angles with the power with Bond, reversing the situation. Now, if you start to do the counts, instead of going 1, 2, 3, you'll get 1, 2, and then it'll be 1, 1, 1 as the director and the editor cut quicker. This is beautiful movement here. So this is handheld. It's clearly handheld, moves down, and I love the way the director moves his camera down, or gets his camera operator, moves the camera down, handheld, and we've still got that movement in the background of the actors. This is so good. And obviously the director, having Bond fumble around, he couldn't get it out. It's just building the tension. Now from here, once Red Grant's in this horrible, desperate situation, he's been stabbed, Bond's definitely got the upper hand. Now the count will go 1, cut, 1, cut, 1, cut. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. Bit long on that one because he's dead. He's got the frame, so the frame's there. Looking up at him now, he's the victor. And what I love here is how, we've had such tight angles. Now the frame has been completely loosened. So what I mean by that, we're now out on these wide angle shots. We're still moving, but we've loosened up because the tension's come off. So the close-up angles are gone because the tension is off James Bond. And I love the fact that Terence Young plays this out. He doesn't feel the need to go to a close-up. Today, in today's films, we go to a close-up of Red Grant. Oh, we've got to show the dead guy. They don't need to do that. The focus now is on Bond. The tension's off him, so just stay on him. It's really well done.
You won't be needing this,
Boom.
old man.
And I love the dialogue. The screenplay there is fantastic. We see Red Grant, but we see, like I said before, the director's not showing us a gratuitous shot of Red Grant dead. He only shows Red Grant in the frame, still when Bond is in frame with him, again, showing control and that he's the one in charge. Close that off. That situation's gone. I love that. That's like, you know, again, it's all mental. It's locking that off. That part of the story is done. Hoot hoot, and now off to try and chase down his freedom. Open up the door, the light came in there. He's going into a new situation. The darkness is gone. There's a bit of light come in. All these little things play out. Directors think about these things. They orchestrate these things with their cinematographers. And then obviously the cinematographer will work with his lighting technicians to bring all that to fruition. I hope you've enjoyed that one, guys. That's my finally much anticipated one, the From Russia Love. It's a bit of a long one, unfortunately, but hope you enjoyed it. And please let me know your thoughts of this Dissecting the Directing. And more importantly, please let me know what James Bond scenes you would like me to do again, because I'd love to do one tomorrow and just kind of keep pumping one out daily because I do enjoy them. Thanks again. If you haven't liked, please drop a like. It means a lot to me. And subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time. Keep on bonding and say hi to your mum for me.
Tanya.